Malaysia's High Court has found former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak guilty of all 4 counts of abuse of power in the 1MDB trial.
In a historic turn of events, Malaysia witnessed an unprecedented legal and political milestone as the former Prime Minister was officially sentenced by the judiciary. This moment, long anticipated and debated across political, social, and international circles, signifies more than just a legal outcome. It marks a profound shift in the country's democratic and institutional landscape. The verdict has sent ripples through the political establishment, the general public, and the international community, symbolizing a watershed moment in Malaysia's ongoing struggle against corruption and abuse of power. The former Prime Minister, who held office during a period of significant economic growth and transformative policy changes, now faces legal consequences that overshadow much of his political legacy.
Former Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak has been jailed for 15 years over money laundering and abuse of power. The 72-year-old was accused of funneling nearly $800 million.
Accusations that culminated in his trial encompassed a wide range of allegations, including misuse of public funds, bribery, and manipulation of governmental institutions for personal and political gain. For years, these claims fueled public debate and prompted intensive investigations by law enforcement agencies, auditors, and independent anti-corruption bodies. Analysts have described the case as one of the most comprehensive and scrutinized political trials in Malaysian history, with the legal process painstakingly sifting through vast amounts of financial documentation, witness testimonies, and political correspondence. The trial itself unfolded over several months, capturing national and international attention. Courtrooms became stages for intricate legal arguments, expert testimonies, and procedural debates. Prosecutors meticulously presented evidence intended to demonstrate a consistent pattern of misconduct and the deliberate concealment of financial activities from regulatory oversight. Meanwhile, the defense mounted a formidable case, challenging the credibility of witnesses, questioning procedural irregularities, and asserting claims of political targeting. The courtroom drama was accompanied by live media coverage, social media commentary, and public discourse that often reflected deep partisan divides. Citizens from all walks of life followed proceedings with fervent interest, recognizing that the outcome would not only determine the fate of one individual, but also test the integrity of Malaysia's judicial system. At the heart of the trial were several pivotal issues, each examined in exhaustive detail. The prosecution focused on allegations that involved substantial misappropriation of state funds, transactions that, according to court records, benefited the former Prime Minister and associates rather than public welfare. These financial dealings were traced through multiple banking systems, shell companies, and complex contractual arrangements. Forensic accountants provided expert testimony, unraveling layers of financial obfuscation to reveal patterns that the prosecution argued were consistent with intentional wrongdoing. Each revelation was met with intense media scrutiny, and analysts debated the broader implications for governance, institutional accountability, and Malaysia's international reputation. Simultaneously, the defense emphasized the former Prime Minister's contributions to national development, asserting that many of the contested financial actions were either legally permissible or politically motivated. They argued that the prosecution's interpretation of evidence failed to contextualize the complexities inherent in high-level decision-making. Legal representatives pointed out procedural errors and contested the credibility of certain witnesses, painting a narrative of a politically charged trial rather than an impartial judicial process. This clash between prosecution and defense highlighted not only the complexities of the case itself, but also the broader tension between political power and judicial oversight in Malaysia. Public reaction to the trial and subsequent sentencing has been deeply polarized. Anti-corruption advocates, civil society organizations, and segments of the population who have long demanded greater transparency and governance hailed the verdict as a decisive step toward accountability. For them, the sentencing sends a clear message that no individual, regardless of political stature or influence, is above the law. Conversely, supporters of the former Prime Minister expressed shock and dismay, arguing that the ruling reflects political vendettas and an overreach of judicial authority. Social media platforms became battlegrounds of opinion, with hashtags, commentary, and debates trending for weeks. Newspapers, television channels, and digital news outlets dedicated extensive coverage to the event, analyzing legal documents, interviewing political analysts, and hosting debates that reflected the nation's divided sentiments. International observers have also weighed in on the case, noting its significance for Southeast Asia's political and judicial norms. Regional governments, global anti-corruption organizations, and financial institutions closely monitored proceedings, aware that the outcome would resonate beyond Malaysia's borders. Analysts emphasize that a transparent and fair judicial process would enhance investor confidence, reinforce democratic institutions, and signal Malaysia's commitment to the rule of law. Conversely, any perception of political interference or judicial inconsistency could have adverse effects on foreign relations, economic partnerships, and regional stability. The international dimension of the trial underscores how national legal actions can carry profound implications for global perceptions and diplomatic engagements. The sentencing marks the culmination of years of legal scrutiny, beginning with initial investigations that uncovered alleged discrepancies in government accounts, suspicious transfers, and irregularities in state-owned enterprises. These inquiries involve multiple agencies, including Malaysia's Anti-Corruption Commission, the Attorney General's Office, and independent auditing bodies. Early reports suggested that irregularities were systemic, implicating not only the former Prime Minister, but also a network of associates and intermediaries. As the investigation progressed, public pressure intensified, demanding transparency and accountability at every stage. The judiciary, faced with unprecedented scrutiny, had to navigate the delicate balance between legal objectivity and public expectation, ultimately rendering a verdict that has since reshaped the political landscape. Legal scholars have analyzed the proceedings extensively, highlighting the rigorous nature of the trial and the legal principles it invoked. Issues such as executive accountability, the scope of ministerial immunity, and the legal interpretation of financial misconduct were central to judicial deliberations. Precedents established in prior cases were examined meticulously, and the court's reasoning was documented in detailed judgments that will serve as reference points for future legal proceedings. The verdict not only addressed the immediate charges, but also clarified key aspects of Malaysian constitutional law and the legal responsibilities of elected officials. Beyond the courtroom, the societal impact of the sentencing has been profound. Citizens engage in spirited debates about the nature of leadership, governance ethics, and civic responsibility. Educational institutions incorporated discussions about the trial into curricula on political science, law, and ethics. Media outlets produced documentaries and analyses examining the former Prime Minister's tenure, the evolution of Malaysian politics, and the broader implications for democracy and rule of law. This discourse contributed to a national introspection, prompting citizens to reflect on the mechanisms necessary to prevent future misconduct and strengthen institutional oversight. As the former Prime Minister begins serving the sentence imposed by the court, questions regarding appeals, legal strategies, and potential political consequences remain pressing. Legal experts anticipate a protracted appeals process, citing procedural rights and the complexity of the charges. Meanwhile, political analysts are evaluating the ramifications for party dynamics, parliamentary composition, and upcoming electoral contests. The verdict has already influenced political alliances, prompted resignations, and encouraged internal party reforms, highlighting the interconnectedness of legal outcomes and political stability. In conclusion, the sentencing of Malaysia's former Prime Minister represents more than the resolution of a legal case. It signifies a defining moment in the nation's democratic evolution. It underscores the importance of accountability, the resilience of judicial institutions, and the necessity of vigilant citizen engagement in governance. As Malaysia navigates the aftermath of this landmark event, the nation stands at a crossroads, facing both challenges and opportunities that will shape its political, social, and economic trajectory for years to come.